Good evening and welcome to the Smyrna Town Council Workshop to set our agenda for our January 2020 meeting. That's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? Before we move into the few items of discussion that we have tonight, I'm going to ask Hal Laughlin to do our prayer, and Mike Moss, will you do our pledge for us? If you'll all stand, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you and open this meeting in prayer. I ask, Father, that you bless our council and our directors and our staff as they go about setting this agenda and what we're going to be accomplishing in January of 2020. Father, I ask for a blessing on families this time of year that have spouses or relatives that are overseas serving our country, and that you just fill them with a peace and a satisfaction knowing that they're serving our country and bless their families. Father, also ask a prayer for those who have lost loved ones this past year, and this might be the first Christmas that they're having without them, that you fill that void with only the love and the peace that you can feel, Father. And we thank you for this opportunity, and we ask you to bless this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Hal and Mike. Moving into our items for discussion, item 1, we have been asked to pull that item. So we'll move on to item 2, which is consideration and approval of the name Freedom Playground relative to the future all-inclusive playground. Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Of course, we had a groundbreaking on this project several months ago up at Lee Victory Park, but I got a phone call from Mr. Bobby Hopkins with the Rotary Club saying that they'd voted to name the playground. We had talked about that a while back, even at our park board meeting. So per the town ordinance, it goes to the Parks Advisory Board and then a recommendation to the town council for naming facilities in the parks. We will be bringing this up tomorrow night at the Parks Advisory Board meeting, but I wanted to get it in front of the council where it can be on the council agenda. So you can see in your packet the reasons they wanted to name that. The Freedom Playground is just because they can freely play, all ages can freely play. And also the Wings of Freedom Fish Fry ties into that. It's a fundraiser that's funding part of that playground, and also the proximity to the Captain Jeff Coos USMC Memorial. So it all kind of ties in there together. So we're excited about that, and we just asked to put this on the agenda.
Questions or comments about the name of the park? I think it sounds very appropriate. I think they made a wise choice. Okay, then we will put that on the agenda and move on to item 3, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract amendment with Reagan Smith relative to the construction, administration, and construction engineering inspection services for Zonma Park. Mike?
Yes, ma'am. I went back after the, after the workshop and talked to Kevin Gunther with Reagan Smith about oversight to this project. In the original contract, we didn't have any inspection. Although they would be checking in and following their proposed rates. I think I wanted something that had some inspection and some teeth to it, but also where we would know what the cost would be. So if we needed them more than once a week, the council and Brian would know the ceiling of that money that was going to be spent. Being that this is a pretty detailed project, I felt like we need inspection on this because stained concrete and some of the items that's in there are really detailed, and I want to make sure we get that right. So I asked them to amend the contract to show what the ceiling will that be, and it'd be a not-to-exceed price of $24,000. And the times they're down here, they'll follow their proposed rates that are in the original contract. And then anything we ask over the top of that would be brought back to this board or would be approved by the town manager, depending on the amount. But we foresee this as a 150-day project. They're thinking 100 days, but when you throw weather involved in that and that type of thing, and the disciplines that's involved in the work, you can't ever tell. So I would just ask to approve the contract amendment.
Questions for Mike on this? Yes, sir.
I have something I want to add to that, and Mike and I talked about this, so we have full disclosure to the council about what we're doing. The contract that we originally brought forward represents all the plannings and the concrete work There is a second piece to this that are the gates and the structure. And we have pulled those out of the original bid because we have and Mike helped me with this, but we have a process where we can buy that through a supplier at a lesser price than what we'd have to pay the contractor overheads in that. So there's about another $90,000 of work that will go on with the park. It is all encompassed in what we budgeted for the total park, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of that, and it's not a surprise that somebody goes, hey, what happened? We're $90,000 over. There's two pieces to this. Now, this 24,000 is kind of a third piece. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. But it is in the total budgeted aspect of what we were doing with finance and with the park system, so.
Okay. Questions for Brian or Mike on this? Okay, then we will move on to item 3, which is consideration of the declaration of surplus items. Rex?
Mayor and council, in your package, you have a list of surplus items that we would like to sell at auction. The list includes vehicles that have been removed from service, as well as abandoned property and seized property. We do know that there are several departments planning to send us more items for this sale, and those will be included before the council meeting. The town seeks permission to conduct this as an online auction to sell these surplus items. The auction will be advertised in the Murfreesboro Post, on our website and Channel 3. All the surplus items will be sold through GovDeals, an online auction company, and there should be a link from our website to GovDeals for anybody that has not used that site.
Questions for Rex?
It's gonna be bad.
Just gonna say, guys, don't go out and buy the glitter nails for your
I was wondering.
wife for Christmas. Yeah,
No glitter nails.
yeah. And perfume. You could get perfume as well. And a locked diary with a pen. You think it's already been written in? No.
I also noticed there's a dart throwing kit that,
Would you like that for your new man
I'm
cave?
I'm just trying to figure out how the police came to be in possession of a dart throwing kit.
What about 2 coins? Just 2? Okay.
Law darts got out of control, it sounds like.
I think we may need pictures to go along with these sometimes in our package.
Pictures will be posted on the online site. Yeah.
Okay, great. Other questions or comments on our items for surplus?
Sorry, we stressed Rex out about that one.
Okay. We will move on to item 5, which is discussion relative to PTO for elected officials. Do you want to, I know that Judge Alexander asked us to put this on the agenda. Do we want to move on to reports until she gets here?
I think so at this point. Give her a few minutes. I know she had late
Had court.
court. We were hoping we expressed that she probably needed to be here no later than 5:15, so.
Okay, then why don't we go ahead and get started with our reports, and then we will come back and hit item 5, which is discussion relative to PTO for elected officials. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, just so everyone is aware, of course, our Fraternal Order of Police every year does Shop with a Cop, and they will be doing it this Saturday at Walmart at 7 a.m. They will do their wrapping at 6:30 that night at Life Point Church. If people are interested, they can still donate to this cause. They can just come to the police department and ask to speak with Ms. Shirley Key or with Officer Jonathan Beverly and make arrangements on making a donation if they wish to. And I just want to stress that this is the FOP and not the police department that is doing this. But the police department does allow the officers to go there in uniform. We allow them to drive their cars there, and it's strictly because it is a community event, and it's turned into a huge community event. And I know this year, I think they're estimating around 80 children that will be given a Christmas. They are estimating around 40 families that will be given food. And of course, the Smyrna Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association is very involved in all this as well. And I know on December the 24th at 8 o'clock at Life Point, they are packing and hand delivering 385 boxes of food for the seniors. So I just want to give out a shout out to our FOP and congratulate them on that. I think it's just a tremendous effort those guys are doing.
It's always job well done on this project. I know it's something that they raise funds throughout the year for,
They do.
and, you know, to be able to give a hand up to some of those that are a little bit in need is nice. So
That's it.
thanks for what y'all have done. Why don't we go back, and since the judge is here now, why don't we go back and hit item 5 before we move on to the rest of our reports? So we'll move to our discussion relative to PTO for elected officials.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I appreciate you allowing us to put this item on the agenda, and this is something that the judge asked and requested to be able to come before council to give you an information of what has happened. We have several employees within the town that have hit a plateau with their PTO time as far as what they can garner. So I asked for an audit so we'd know how many employees had maxed out their PTO time to kind of get an understanding of what was going on with those, so we could work with them to make sure they're scheduling their time off and help them understand that, you know, they had the possibility of losing some of their available PTO. In doing so, it came to my attention that we had 2 elected officials, one being the judge and one being the clerk, that had PTO time registered on that list. I began to ask some questions about that because my understanding of statute was that the court clerk and the judge as elected officials really did not receive PTO time per se, because as an elected official, they are by ordinance paid their salary, whether they're in the, on the job or not. They have the right to take PTO time as they deserve, you know, or their time off as they deserve to do so as an elected official. So I met with both of those individuals and discussed this, and I guess we can say we didn't agree on that. So at this point, I think Jeff has done some research on the legal aspects of this, and we've also talked to some other judges and other elected officials to make sure that we're within reason of what we're asking for. But at this point, we do not anticipate that the elected officials, as yourselves included, are not eligible for PTO compensation through as a benefit. So that's the question at hand.
Okay. Jeff, can you talk a little bit about what your take is on it? And then I know that you've talked to outside counsel as well.
Yes, was that my taking off button? When Brian brought this to me, obviously, I gave him my advice after looking into it, but we also thought it was especially important to reach out to our labor council at Littler. They're the ones that also helped put together the employee handbook, and they kind of specialize in the labor area of the law and dealing with these types of issues as well. In essence, I kind of go through Article 6, Section 7 of the Tennessee Constitution states, "The judges shall receive a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law, which shall not be increased or diminished during the time for which they are elected." It goes further to state that they shall not be allowed any fees or perquisites of office. Perquisites being a privilege or gain or a profit that's incidental to salary. Also, our ordinance mirrors that language as far as cannot be raised or diminished during the term of office. I think you're all familiar with that we've dealt with that previously, that we know if we're going to give increasing salary of the clerk or of the judge, that, or even counsel for that matter, that whenever you do that, it's not in effect until the next term, okay? But the salary, as it states within the ordinance, is fixed. So fixed indicates a static number. The council has fixed that rate in 2006 with the ordinance, and which is 3-208, which at the time had stated that it was 60% of the salary set for state circuit court judges in September of 2006. Of course, over time, there's been cost of living adjustments and those things, so it has the salary that you're at today. Back to the PTO, however, an elected official answers to the voters. They do not answer to the town manager or even the town council in this matter. So when they're elected, they can work 365 days. They can work 1 day, and they're paid that salary, and that salary is divided up in 2-week increments. So the use of PTO is superfluous. So there's no need for it because let's say that they do collect paid time off and they exhaust that paid time off. They're still going to be paid regardless of whether they've exhausted that PTO. And it could also provide more of a financial benefit if that PTO is banked and not utilized. Then there would be a cash value over and above what the council had approved for that salary at the end of the person's term. There is no value until termination of employment for employees. One thing I'll have to direct you to look at, and I know that I've sent you information about this, so I'm sure that all of you have read that, but just to go back over, within our ordinance, it states that the town judge shall also receive such benefits as available to town employees on the same terms and conditions as available to town employees. The terms and conditions as available to town employees would be dissimilar because with an employee, their terms and conditions, they have to come to work when scheduled, they have a finite or definite amount of days. They're subject to discipline, they can be suspended, they can be separated from employment. They will not be paid if they exhaust their paid time off. So that would not be a condition that's on the same terms and conditions as an employee. Goes on also further within the ordinance to say that they are allowed any cost of living adjustments that is paid to all town employees, insurance benefits, except that long-term, short-term disability, life insurance shall be available if approved by the insurance carrier. All that to say, in my research, but specifically in the research from Littler, they do not see that PTO was not contemplated, it was not called out in the ordinance, that paid time off is not contemplated for the elected officials. Just as a matter of law, we believe that it would also be contrary to the Tennessee Constitution of Article 6, Section 7, by providing a fee or a requisite. And that's kind of where we lie on it. And I think there's some disagreement to that, understandably, I understand. But that is our recommendation, is that it is not contemplated as compensation. Our paid time off, even found within the handbook, is located in the benefits section, not in the compensation section. And that would be outside of what either elected official should receive.
And did you say no other judges are getting PTO time?
I have not found anywhere that I have spoken with, so I'll qualify it with that. And I think Brian, has even spoken with several. Generally across the board, elected officials, because they cannot be, you can't stop paying them because they don't come to work. Now, the citizens can have ousters and things like that if someone's doing what they're not supposed to be doing. Although, it could be something as simple as a medical issue. They could be out, doesn't have to be nefarious. They're still going to be paid, but that's just the way that the law is set up, because they're answerable to the voters or their employees.
Okay. Questions or comments for Jeff or Brian on this?
I would point out one thing that adds to this is, in doing the research, this is a practice that the town has employed for some time. And to the extent that even a previous judge was paid out, and I have done the research on that, I think the question I have is, when we realize we're doing something wrong, when's the right time to correct it? And being, responsible to the taxpayers is something that you challenge me with every day. And so from a fiduciary responsibility, I felt like it was important that we brought this to light. So,
Timesheet.
and also that they're filling out timesheets, which again, there's no requirement for the elected official to fill out a timesheet, because again, they're paid based on the ordinance, their full compensation, set by ordinance, whether they're here or not.
And I think that's where the confusion probably initially began, was in 2006. Obviously, it's unusual, it's not the norm for municipalities to have these types of elected positions, of full-time positions. So at the time, the finance department or HR department, when they set up the payroll system, they're using a system that we already have. So they're plugging in those numbers and filling out the pay stubs as they would for any other employee. And at that time, no one, had thought to say, hey, no, these are different. You shouldn't be doing it that way. They should not be filling out timesheets, because if they didn't turn in a timesheet, you still have to pay them. So that's, once again, superfluous. So I don't think it's any fault of these elected officials, and I don't want it to appear that way in any manner. They didn't begin this, and it was something that the town had started, and it made them believe that they had these extra benefits. But anyway, that's what we found in being asked to look at that.
Well, and Brian, I appreciate the fact that, one, you were doing the audit and found this and brought it to our attention. And if there's no questions for Brian or Jeff, Judge Alexander, was there anything you wanted to add or say?
Well, of course.
Okay.
Anytime you have two lawyers in a room, you're going to have a difference of opinion.
Will
So,
you grab the microphone?
I've done some research as well.
Okay.
And I would like to pass this out. Now, I will tell you, I had a preliminary hearing, I've got one waiting, and I left my packet, my extra packet, but I did bring something for, I think I've got 8 or 9. I've got.
We can share so you can keep
Okay.
one.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'll sit down. First of all, let me say that, y'all know me. This is a big deal because you're talking right now, to me, I'm about to lose $10,000. Had I come into this position as any other kind of judge, and I'm sure, I respect what Brian said, and he's going and he's talking to the Rutherford County judges, and no disrespect to Brittany, I'm not an elected official. I'm an elected judge, and I fall under different categories, and that's the approach I've taken. First, you'll see the Constitution on the front, which Jeff has referred to. Now, I'm not sure about the word perquisites, but I don't know where he got his definition, but are you saying that I shouldn't be getting insurance benefits and retirement benefits? Those are perquisites too?
No, I've just said
What are
a
those?
privilege you gain or a profit,
Okay.
or gratuity
Now,
tip.
I pulled the charter, the public chapter, and now, first of all, let's go back to the Constitution. This applies to me because I am an inferior court. And that happened when you added the general sessions jurisdiction, okay? And what I've done is, I've just kind of gone through and highlighted these things, but Section 4, Section 904 comes in, the town court established with a concurrent jurisdiction. Then it goes on under D, and it says the compensation of the town judge.
Wait, are you on 904?
904. Yeah, hold on a minute.
Section 4901.
Thank you. Section 4901
Okay.
says, the town judge. Okay, we're going to go to Section 5. The judge exercising concurrent jurisdiction, then the compensation. And I believe the word here is compensation. And this is something that Brian and I talked about. You can give me a salary, but I believe we all know that compensation includes all of the benefits of which you're entitled. I got a statement last year and told me how much my compensation was. My paycheck consistently has reflected how much PTO time I have earned and I have taken. Had I come into this office knowing that I could have taken off willy-nilly, that would have been great. But there have been times that I didn't take off and I put things off because I didn't want to take the time off. So, this is something that I've relied on as part of my compensation package. So it says compensation shall be set by the council by ordinance. Again, we're going to concentrate on you can't make any changes midstream. And that's where I'm coming from. I believe that if you want to change this for the next election, that's completely acceptable. But I believe that changing it now is changing it midstream and changing my compensation and Ms. Stevens' compensation as well. Because from that standpoint, the ordinance states the same for both of us. Again, I've gone to the Article 9, the town court and our charter. This is emphasizing I am a court of inferior court under the Constitution. We're going to go on to where we've established the town court in our ordinance. And we're going to go to Chapter 2, Town Judge. Compensation. Now, everywhere we have seen refers to compensation. That's the word used in the Constitution, it's the word used in our charter, and it's now the word used in our ordinance. The salary and other benefits relating to the office of all town judges shall be established by board by ordinance prior to the commencement of the term. The salary is hereby fixed at a rate of 60%. The salary shall be paid bi-weekly, just like any other employee. The town judge shall also receive such benefits as available to town employees on the benefits on the same terms and conditions as available to town employees, including but not limited to cost of living, long-term, short-term, life insurance. The judge won't receive longevity pay. So I believe that this turns on the word, and this applies to Ms. Stevens as well, on the word compensation. This is something that she and I have both relied on. Like I said, if you do it now, you're taking $10,000 away from me today. Well, it's $9,900 and something. But there have been times that I could have been in Florida in the hospital with my father that I came back because I relied on that. I was told by Jeff Craig when I was hired that I would receive that. And the fact that the only other judge that has held this position received that PTO, I believe that you would be changing the compensation of the elected officials if you were to do something now.
Okay.
Now, later, I would agree with.
Jeff, have you looked at everything that she's talking about? That's everything you as well as Littler has looked at as well?
Yes, I understand Her Honor's argument. I think, though, it circles around, she's speaking of compensation, paid time off is not identified within the ordinance as part of compensation. It's actually silent as to paid time off if you read the ordinance.
Questions for Judge Alexander or comments for Jeff O'Brien?
I do have two questions. And this is, I guess, really for the judge. Judge, I think Section 902, it's like the fourth or fifth page back where you said that compensation can't be adjusted during his or her term in office. We have a sheet here that shows yours and the clerk's pay for the last, I guess, while you've been in office. And in fact, every year except for one, your compensation has increased. So my question is if your argument is that it shouldn't decrease during your term.
It hasn't increased only by cost of living. That's the only thing I get.
That's not what we have. We have merit increase, pay scale adjustment, and a merit bonus.
No, I don't get that. I get the merit increase, I mean,
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
get a merit increase.
Yes, you do.
I get the one thing that is included with as the cost of living, which is like 2%, 1% a year.
Yeah, that's not what our information's showing, so I'm not gonna argue about it
So-
because I have,
so
what I
you're
have
gonna-
came from
okay.
finance.
So it hasn't increased, okay, so it hasn't increased, it is following the ordinance. See, it would be nice to have what you had before I came in here.
Yeah, this shows that it has increased. So my argument, or my point, Jeff, is, and Brian, is
Yeah.
if it can't decrease, and that's the argument, then we shouldn't have been increasing, and it looks like we've probably, if we have increased it, we've increased it by way more than the 10,000 that she would be losing at this point already. So,
Greg, says any cost of living adjustments paid to all town employees, and I think your question is, within the last few years, they've changed the manner in which they're providing raises to all employees. Is
well,
that your question?
specifically, the sheet I'm talking about shows merit increase, pay scale adjustment, and merit bonus were all paid. The pay scale increase is what we're saying, I think, is cost of living.
Right.
But the merit increase and the merit bonus would be above that. And that would be, a merit increase changes the base pay of that salary permanently. So no matter how you swizzle that,
Sure.
you're adding to that compensation. And if the ordinance says we shouldn't be adding or subtracting, then,
It should only be the cost of living adjustment
okay.
that all employees receive. So not someone that receives a 5, but something that everyone receives. So it
Yeah,
can be the,
And then, okay, so, and then
Okay,
my,
but
go ahead.
hold on, let me answer that.
Yeah.
That would be under the same cost of living, okay, including but not limited to any cost of living paid to all in-town employees. So the way I see that is, including but not limited to, everything is not listed in the ordinance. So if all town employees are getting this, then this says that we are entitled to that as well.
All town employees don't get it. If they don't score a
Yeah.
3 on their merit, if they score a 2 or a 1, they don't get a merit increase
Right.
or a merit bonus.
Cost of living, I agree with. Every
Right.
employee
Yes.
across the
But
board gets a
what, okay,
percentage.
and what is the merit based on that you give to?
She doesn't get.
It's based on their performance, and yours has been based on an average of employee performances.
Which is what?
Well, it
Well,
varies from year to year.
this past year, it was $4,653 increase. The year before that, it was $4,518 increase. The year before that was $3,918. The year before that, $2,894. And the year before that, $2,352, which comes up to about $18,000 in increase in your pay.
So if you change that now, you're changing the compensation.
Well, but
But
what I'm saying is we've been changing it all along.
Yeah.
So the argument is, I think your argument is we shouldn't change it now, but it's been okay when we've been increasing it. I
don't agree with that. I don't believe that you're changing the compensation when you're doing that. I believe that salary and other benefits is inclusive.
I don't agree with that approach.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last question I have is, on the very last page, compensation. It says, on the same terms and conditions as available to town employees is one of the qualifiers. And I don't think it is on the same terms and conditions because employees are rated by their management and receive merit increases or bonuses based on their performance. You guys aren't rated based on your performance. So anything other than cost of living, I don't believe is on the same terms and conditions. Now, in relation to the PTO time, the piece that I don't understand there is if your pay isn't reduced when you miss time, then why would PTO be warranted? PTO is there to make employees whole if they have to take personal time off and reduce their pay. I missed a day of work, so I take a PTO day to offset that loss. In your case, if your pay is not reduced for a day off, then why would you warrant PTO? Whether they said you're getting it or not, it doesn't make sense. It's additional service that no town employee gets. No town employee is allowed to take days off, get paid for that day as part of their salary, and claim PTO time, or cash out PTO time while they've been paid for days off. So to me, it isn't the same terms and conditions what you're suggesting.
Other
That's
questions or
my only
comments?
comments.
No, that was Steve hit the last point that I was looking at, the same terms and conditions. And again, if you're an employee and you exhaust your PTO, then your pay is reduced. But your pay would not be reduced, so I don't see that as the same term and condition.
Except for the fact that when elected officials come into office and they meet, and it says, I'm an employee, I'm treated as an employee of the town, and I'm told you will receive PTO, I relied on that. I didn't take time off. I didn't take a week off every month. I didn't take a week off every, or 2 weeks off here and there to go. I've never done that. I've saved it because I was relying on it.
So every time you've taken off, you've taken PTO time?
I have, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I got a compensation statement last year that told me how much that was worth. And it's reflected on every paycheck. This is how many hours you've earned, this is how many you took.
So when you took that PTO time, did you notice your check increasing? Because we didn't take the pay away, you took a day off, you still got paid for that day, plus you submitted PTO time, that would be an additional day's pay.
No, I'm not taking a PTO day any different than anybody else would be. I take a PTO day.
But if your pay isn't reduced,
But I was never told that.
I understand that,
relied
but
on
your
that.
check would still
I
be
didn't know that.
increased.
No.
Why
Why would
wouldn't
it
it?
be increased?
Because you didn't get, you still got paid for the day you took off as part of your salary.
Right.
Then you submitted a PTO day to get paid as well. If you got paid for that PTO time, which you said you have been, then you would be getting paid an extra day.
I had PTO days saved up.
But you still are getting paid extra time that, above your salary.
No, I'm not.
I don't understand why you're not
I don't
following.
understand where you're coming from,
If-
respectfully disagree.
Yeah, so if you're paid on Monday
Mm-hmm.
and you take Tuesday off, you're still paid for that day whether you take PTO time or not.
I don't know because it's never been that way for me. Anytime I've ever taken off, I've taken a PTO day. And like I said, I really think that the way that if this is something that wants to be changed, I think for the next election, but I also relied on this, and you paid the prior judge out PTO. And I believe therein lies the problem in changing me and Ms. Stevens midstream.
Other questions or comments?
Judge, I want to ask you, Mayor just read off a number of about $18,000. Have you not noticed that increase?
Of $18,000, my pay is $103,000. When I came into office, it was 94. That's not 18,000.
Well, over 4 or 5 years, it has accrued to the tune of about
It's gone from
18,000,
that.
right?
But
So-
that's your base salary.
Right.
You've also gotten merit bonuses.
Now,
The
the-
merit
now-
bonuses
now
are
the-
are 1447, 1469,
Mm-hmm.
and 1506, and 1551.
The merit bonus, the check, right, which I considered part of the compensation package that I was told as an employee I was entitled to.
That was not even taking place when you first started as an
How long, how
employee.
many years?
That didn't start until 2016.
Okay,
So, but not every employee gets that.
right.
Not
Well,
every employee gets merit bonus and not every employee gets merit increase. So you
Okay.
couldn't have been told.
So I got 16, 17, and 18 of 1,400,
1447, 1469, 1506.
Well, that's all I could have got.
But you also got the merit increase, which was 1447, the same amount. So you got
What's the
that
merit
time.
increase?
The merit increase is what employees get. They get a merit increase and a merit bonus if they score a 3 or higher. And
Okay.
that percentage is based on their score.
Well,
But then they also get, the only thing that every town employee gets is the pay scale adjustment, which is similar to a cost of living. So that is the only thing that every town employee gets, and that is based on the rate that is set. It was 1% for year 17-18, it was 1.5% for 18-19, and 1.5% for, which will be 19-20.
Okay, and that's the cost of living?
Yeah.
And the cost of living during those times, that's based on the federal cost of living, which is
No,
usually
it's-
2%. That's what the other judges get. They get it based on the federal,
But
which is about 2%.
But
2.5.
what our ordinance states is you're gonna get the same thing that every other town employee
Okay.
gets. And that percentage is exactly what every other town employee is getting.
Right. Well,
Then you are also getting the merit increase and the merit bonus, which are determined based on performance of other employees,
Right.
which you do not get a performance review at all.
Right.
But you're saying you still think that you're entitled to those because
Um,
other
I-
employees get them.
I didn't ask for it.
I didn't say you asked for it. I said you said that you
Here's-
still think you're entitled to it because other employees got it. And you
my-
want to be treated as an employee. Is that what I'm understanding?
My position is, if you've been doing something or something's been done incorrectly up until this point, it has to stay that way during the term of the office. If you choose to change it, then you may change it then. But I do believe that the Constitution trumps the ordinance. And the Constitution says you may not change the compensation. It doesn't say salary. And compensation, and I have a Supreme Court case on point that says compensation includes vacation pay.
Any other questions or comments for Judge?
And I appreciate y'all. I'm, you know me well enough to know I'll discuss and
Well,
I
and I
appreciate
think we
the
both
questions.
can respectfully
And I want
disagree
you-
based
yeah.
on what ours, I would, since you've had an opportunity.
Yes,
Brittany,
I
is
want
there
Ms.
anything that
Stevens-
you'd like to
yes.
address? Great. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Reed. Yes, I saw this item on the agenda, and I've listened to the dialogue and the different perspectives this evening, and I appreciate all of the different input. And I don't necessarily have any formal remarks prepared at this time, other than to say that it is my understanding that as state constitutionally elected officers, that we work for and we answer directly to the citizens of the town of Smyrna. And as Mr. Peach said, and as some of you all have even said as well, that our salaries are set by statute and adopted by ordinance. And I'm not aware of other elected officials receiving PTO, and I do want to clarify something that Judge Alexander pointed out, that I actually have not relied on the PTO just because, again, as an elected official, our time is very different than a town employee. So we're classified in a different category, so to speak. And I also think it's important to remember that as elected officials, we are charged with being good financial stewards of taxpayer dollars. And that includes being as fiscally conservative as possible. And my concern with elected officials receiving PTO would be the appearance of double dipping. And I want to assure my constituents that I absolutely do not want to, have that appearance or, have just the appearance that we're trying to receive PTO in addition to our state salary. So I want to make that clear as well. And with that being said, I would defer to the town attorney and,
So you are not expecting to get PTO whenever your term is over?
that's correct.
Other questions or comments? I guess for me, I appreciate everything the judge is saying, but I have to defer to what our town manager and what our town attorney, as well as outside counsel, has recommended to us. So, anybody else have anything they want to?
I think ultimately that's the right approach, right? The ordinance is written, the statutes are there. If outside counsel and in-house counsel agree on the interpretation of those, I think that's what we need to stick to. What the interpretation is and the letter that's there. If the determination is that PTO is included in compensation, then it should be included. If the determination is PTO is not part of compensation, then it should be excluded. That's the way I'm looking at it, is it should be pretty black and white. It's all right there in writing, we just need the correct interpretation, and if you guys agree on interpretation, then that's what we go with. As far as correcting it, when do we correct it? Because I think we have been doing it wrong up till now. I don't think we continue to make bad choices once we identify the bad choice. And I guess that's also a letter of law, I guess, if we can change it or should change it now versus later. But if we have the opportunity to change it, I think we should change it as soon as we figured it out, which is now.
I think to answer, then I'll let Brian, if he wants to, not understanding what you're saying, because obviously no one's proposing that we change an ordinance right now. This is not an ordinance change.
I'm not talking about changing ordinances.
But
I'm talking
you may be
about-
talking about the operations of, they
Right.
should not be filling out timesheets.
That's right.
They should not be adding those types of PTO numbers onto their checks, because obviously they see it on there, that's what they're going to think. I mean, it's not something that they've made up, that's what they believe that they were receiving, or at least the judge believes she was receiving. So I think that Brian's already dealing with that, because they should have never started filling out timesheets, and I think that is what has led us to this point, is the inferences from filling out timesheets and those types of things, then showing up on your check and those types of things is what has caused this confusion on their part.
Well, there's one question. You don't have to have the answer, but I'd like to know, and maybe Rex, you'll have to do some research. But one of the things that Judge said was that she's not received pay for days she was off and PTO time. She didn't understand my argument that her pay would be increased because of those PTO days. Can we go back and just look at days in which she submitted PTO time and received pay for those days? Did she also still receive her regular salary for those days as well? And that would show the double dipping that Brittany was
She
talking
did not, from that aspect, there was no double dipping because she was getting her salary. It's just a tracking mechanism on how the days were accounted for in the system.
So you
She
didn't
still
actually-
received, she did not receive double
So you
payment for
didn't
those
still
days.
pay her for PTO?
No.
You just used the day on paper?
Right.
I
It was
got
just
you.
a tracking mechanism.
Perfect,
What I
thank
was
you.
saying.
Yeah, that's what I wanted clarification on.
Thank you.
Perfect.
But she has not been overpaid based on the statute of her
Okay, perfect.
ordinance pay.
But looking for that later as a bonus.
I can't answer that for the judge. That would be a question she'd have
But
to
if
answer.
it's not being taken, that's my question, I guess.
To have a cash value upon separation from the town, is what you're asking.
It's a compensation at some point, I guess you could say. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, the financial end is not vested until termination.
Right, okay.
And at termination, the max that could be received is 488 hours.
That's
Which
correct.
would be to the tune of about an additional $20,000. Is that about right?
Could be that or more.
Okay.
And
Which,
that's
at that
additional
point-
above and beyond the set salary that we have. That's what you're confirming. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that?
I just want to make sure we still understand that, and the judge is absolutely correct, and I acknowledge that in the research, when she came in as judge, the previous judge was paid out, but in error. And at what point, I'm like Steve, my question to the council is that at what time, when we know we're doing something wrong, when do we fix that? I think the judge's argument is we're not allowed to fix, even if it's in error, until the next election. That's a question that I don't have the answer for. I'm going to depend on Jeff as our legal counsel to give us that. But I think even based on what Ms. Stevens said and her interpretation and what we've seen in research, these are actually being done in error of the spirit of the ordinance.
Well, and I think in addition to that, the spirit of the ordinance, based on the only thing that our town employees are receiving for cost of living adjustment is the pay scale adjustment and not the merit increase or the merit bonus. Is that correct?
I would say that's true.
Because not every employee gets that. If they don't
That's
score
exactly right.
3, they don't get the merit increase or the merit bonus.
That's correct.
But
They
everybody.
have to earn that through their merit.
That's right, but every person gets
The pay scale.
pay scale adjustment, which
Correct.
they are entitled to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is our ordinance not in violation of our charter and the state constitution here? Because when it says right here that the compensation shall not be changed, and then our ordinance over here says cost of living adjustments. You know, that's an adjustment, that's a change. I mean, it's just,
I can tell you, however, across the state, that is the norm. The state of Tennessee does it for the county. The cost of living adjustments have always been well accepted as far as those increases have been accepted. The circuit court judges, all of those receive those cost of living adjustments.
And it states that.
I understand your
ordinance as
question,
well.
to Councilman,
Yeah.
but my only answer to you is that the cost of living has been the exception to that.
But is it in the ordinance? Because that's what
It
you're
is in the
saying.
ordinance as well.
So,
We
okay.
spell it out in the ordinance, but state law has allowed for circuit judges and register of deeds, all these other constitutional officers to receive cost of living increase.
Other questions or comments for Jeff and Brian?
That seems where it's equally yoked. What doesn't seem unequally yoked is when you're talking about PTO, and if you're an elected official, no matter, if you take this alleged PTO and you exhaust it, and you go beyond that in a calendar year, you're not, your salary or your pay is not docked or taken away or no longer earned.
Correct. We
In
would
this
still pay you
situation,
regardless.
The elected official would be able to continue to be paid just as if, or in addition to this PTO, I hate to call it the PTO that shows up on the time card.
Sure. Normally, I guess to put it simpler is, depending on how long you've been here, you get 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. With the elected officials, they can take 6 weeks, 30 weeks, 52 weeks if they desire. Now, the citizens probably wouldn't keep them there as long as they did that. But they are paid regardless outside of any 2-week span or anything like that.
Well, and I think the ordinance is clear when it talks about the same terms and conditions as available to town employees. And to me, that's not the same.
That's correct.
Correct. They're dissimilar because they can be terminated. They will not be paid if they if they exhaust their paid time off. They will not be paid outside of short-term disability or something like that. But they will not be paid and possibly even terminated if they're just not coming to work.
And the town wouldn't be able to terminate.
No.
Okay.
Nor should we.
But there's no other employee that can not come to work and still get paid their full salary.
Correct.
But in this case, it's more of a savings account for the time that the elected official leaves. Am I right about that?
Correct. The only benefit that I can understand that you would derive from this would be if you did not take all of that time and saved up for a cash value at the time of separation. Because you would not need it during the year if you could take off. There's nothing that the town administration, the handbook doesn't apply to them. So no discipline would be enacted other than other legal remedies that are available for any elected official.
We have no jurisdiction to tell them they have to be on the job from 8 to 4:30 every day.
Correct. just as with the council member, now, you don't have as many extras or benefits. However, if you miss a meeting in June, then your pay is not reduced because of that.
And I think where the confusion probably lies, at least for me, and I don't want to speak for the rest of them, is we're not on that program. I mean, we don't receive PTO time as elected officials. So when the audit revealed this, we're learning a lot about this now because we're not privy to PTO. None of us are, nor will we be. We're elected, we're paid for what we do. I guess you could consider we're paid for what we do, right? And so, like you said, Jerry's away tonight, but he will not be docked any pay just because he's gone. He's on a vacation away from home. But so that's where I think I see the confusion as to we're not accustomed to that, and trying to figure that out for the judge is different. I see where the confusion came in some years ago, and I see that. I can't get my head around what Steve said, and after the judge explained it, and you all explained it, I think I have a better picture of it, but I couldn't get my head around, wait a minute, as an elected official, you're not docked any pay if you miss, whether it's 1 day or 352 days out of the year. Yet, because it was done before, her argument would be that she wants to make sure she's compensated for time, whether she takes it off or not. Am I getting that right?
I would say if she doesn't take it off, not whether she takes it off or not,
But
if she
she's going to
doesn't.
receive, and this was Steve's point, she's going to receive her salary regardless.
Correct.
Okay. I think that's where I was confused, because we, as elected officials, have, on this, working for the same town, we don't have that benefit. And so we don't understand it as well. I think that's where I'm coming from.
Well, and I would also say, I would also say it's different in that I'm a full-time employee. Now, don't get me wrong, I know what you do is full-time, no disrespect.
Not employee.
But there again, that's where it's different. And like I said, up until this point, yeah, I know most town judges with general sessions jurisdiction have a law practice. It is not a full-time job. So it is not easy to compare apples to apples. I'm not a general sessions judge where I get a mandatory 2 or 3% cost of living every day based on $50,000 a year more than I make. Okay, I just saw something that I'm supposed to make 60% of the circuit court judge. They make $172,000, I think, is what a circuit judge makes, 71, 72 as of this year.
But you are receiving merit increase.
Right,
merit
and like I
bonuses.
said, in all
That's another
honesty.
thing we don't get. You
Right,
follow
and
me? So that's where I'm confused. But you're
To
getting
be honest, I didn't realize it either until now. Okay?
But you understand my confusion?
I do, but.
We don't see this, and this audit revealed this. and
Right,
We don't
right.
see this benefit.
Well, and
so.
like I said, it's kind of, I'm coming in not having seen the audit, so I'm coming in at a disadvantage, and I don't like that. I'll
Well,
be
you
honest.
did see the audit, because I sat down and talked to you about the audit. I told you we did a PTO audit. I told you how many hours you had and what the translation
Nothing
was.
about the merit.
No, you haven't seen that.
That's what
but
I'm talking
That's
about.
another subject.
No, that's what I'm talking about, the merit and all of these figures on the merit. I agree, we don't want to do anything. I'm not double dipping. All I'm saying is you're setting a precedent here. You set it with the prior judge. I'm here every day. I've increased the number of hours that we hold court. I've made, I've tried to make changes for the good. I recognize I'm an elected official, and I recognize I answer only to the people that put me in office. All I'm saying is, you make this kind of a decision, everybody in the state of Tennessee is going to be looking to a change in compensation midterm of a judge's term, midway through a judge's term. That's the thing that I'm concerned about.
But that could go twofold. Sorry, Your Honor. I mean,
Oh, don't, please don't.
sorry, Mayor. That could be twofold, because they can also look at it and they can say, well, if this is getting included in compensation for this judge, then they may want to do it as well.
And they may, and that's what I'm saying.
But I have another question for you. You
Yes,
said, you actually described yourself as a full-time employee. I don't know that you meant to say that, but that's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not a full-time employee. You're an elected official, and so you don't get all the same benefits. But when you sat back down, that was the first thing you said.
Yes,
is you're a full,
yeah,
you're
I
a
work
full-time
full-time,
employee.
yes.
But you're not a full-time employee. You're an elected official. And as far as the time, I just have a question about court. You said that you're there every day. So is court being held every single day now?
Court is now being held all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and half a day every Thursday.
Okay.
And some days, and I've also added a video arraignment docket with the jail on Thursday mornings, but it's not in court.
So it's really 2.5 days a week
Three.
of court time?
1, 2.5, and, 3 days a week.
Okay.
It just depends on which week it is, what docket's coming in. We're at a disadvantage, because we can't get a DA or a public defender until 1 o'clock, which is, like I said, I've got a police officer who's probably on their ear right now because they had a flight to catch, and I got up
And I
left.
guess when you said that you have to answer to the citizens, so do we.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess that's where, when we're hearing from our council and from outside council that it should be one way, and if we're talking $20,000 to $30,000, that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
And so we have to answer to the citizens as well, and if we as a body are hearing that this is not what we should be doing, then as much as I like Lynn, I feel obligated to listen to our council and go with what their recommendation is. So.
Sure.
But Mayor Esther, there's a big difference in setting a precedent and correcting an error. I mean, it's just, when the water's going through a hole in the dam, do you just let it keep going, or do you correct the hole in the dam?
And what we're being told by our council
Is
is that
that
we
there's a
need
hole in the dam,
to
right.
correct it. And I think to answer to our citizens, I think we have to go with what our council has recommended, which is to correct the problem, which is not decreasing her salary. It's remained the same, or no, it's actually increased. And so, for me, I'm comfortable going with what our council and our town manager recommended. How do you all feel?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the only option we have. Because at the end of the day, if we have to answer for it and we went against our council's recommendation, then where are we? So, I mean, I think that's the only option we have, but to go with what our council's recommending and what outside council has already also stated. And I appreciate you, Jeff, going out to outside council to get another opinion, just because.
It's an important issue.
Yeah, it's a very important issue, and I didn't want it to fall down on one person's shoulders without a varying view, so I appreciate that.
And I also agree with that in regards to only getting the pay scale adjustment, which is what the ordinance said that every town employee gets, so. Anything else?
We will move forward then with those recommendations, and as of the first of the year, we'll make those changes, and the judge nor Ms. Stevens will be required to fill out a timesheet going forward.
And if either one of them have questions, they can
They're
see
welcome to
either
come
one
back
of
and
you.
talk with Jeff or I.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move back into our reports from directors. Tom, I think you're up.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple things on some stormwater drainage projects we have going on. The master stormwater project. There are 13 different tract owners. We have got signatures from 2 of the tract owners. We've met with 11 total and are working back and forth on getting an agreement with them. Also, we have a drainage project going on around Lawson where we're going to be working with some homeowners to get some fences and sheds moved out of the way so that we can get in there early next year and do some drainage repairs in that area. And that's all I got.
Questions for Tom?
Thanks, Tom.
Well, how are things going? You've been here, what, how long now, a month?
A little over a month.
A little over a month.
Just trying to get in the right chair, Mayor and Council.
Okay. There
You're in
are.
the right chair because you're not in that one down there.
Yes, sir. And I'm not in the one in the center's chair either. So, just,
Charles, you catch on.
I know, I've had a rough time. That's why I'm just hanging back and seeing which one's open. But on the engineering front here, Eden Springs West Extension Project, the contractor is working on the subgrade between Mount View Church and Rocky Fork. Should have that brought up this week. After that, we'll be bringing in the subgrade. Right now, the storm drain, they're doing some insulation on that and getting ready for base stone. So that project is moving on. Sam Ridley Widening Project, the contractor's obtaining the material submittals and preparing survey layout for the utility work, which will commence in January. Right now, you may have seen some utility work out there, but that's for the Chase development that's coming off Sam Ridley up Potomac back there. So that is not part of this widening project that has started.
Brian, can they go ahead and order the mast arms?
Only if we have the correct measurements.
But we are getting the other utility materials in place. So the Jenny Lane Extension, the engineering consulting firm is working on that alignment. We're getting it ready. We're still working on the traffic circle there. That's under design. And once we get that, we'll be ready to move forward on a right-of-way acquisition on that. The Jefferson Pike widening, this is a TDOT project, but it is concerned to us that that project will run from 840 all the way up to Sam Ridley Nissan Parkway. So it will run all the way to the end and not stop short there on that project. And that will include 5-foot bike lanes and 6-foot sidewalks all the way up there. The sidewalks will stop at the Harbor Drive intersection, right across the bridge at Harbor Drive. That's where the sidewalks and bike lanes, and then from there it'll just be a 5-lane section on out to 840.
Charles, do you know, I don't recall, I don't think there's anything taking place at the intersection though, is there?
No, just
Okay.
up to it. There will not be any change on Sam Ridley, Nissan Parkway.
No added turn
itself.
lanes or anything?
No, nothing will change on that intersection. We're looking at talking to safety with TDOT about that, but at least we will be bringing up the rest of the sidewalks and the bike lanes all the way up to the intersection.
Okay.
And not
From the other end, though, where the new development's gonna go at 840, are we looking at having new sidewalks?
Talking about the Hollingshead.
The Hollingshead development and all that?
If it's, only anything is on a collector level or above, the ordinance requires sidewalks. So.
Okay. Well, I know at some point we hope there might be the park out there at, Mike, what's that one called? If we look at doing trails and stuff across the way, what's it, in the core property there?
Well, there's some core property, and then Mr. Hollingshead also owns some property over there.
Right.
But he said that when he develops that, he was looking to tie the greenway, those kind of things
Right.
in.
So I just want to make sure when we're starting that sort of development out there that we're looking at those things and to tie in sidewalks.
And then the only signals will be at the Hickory Grove intersection there coming out of the area there with the trucks, and they'll also be signalizing the ramps at 840. So that will be the only signals added to the project that TDOT's doing. And they're due to let this June 26th of 2020.
Who do we talk about timing for signalization?
On the lights.
On a
at-
current light?
That would be Mr. Rose.
Tom.
would you check, just,
Fix it, Tom.
would you check the light, and I know we've talked about this multiple times, the one at Old Nashville Highway in Rock Springs?
Right.
The one coming from Rock Springs going toward Kroger, that sort of thing?
Coming from Rocks.
I'm sorry, coming from Front Street. You're on Rock Springs, going across Old Nashville Highway.
Okay.
Okay? Barely 3 cars can get across going that way. I mean, that light is fast. And I think it's happening the same way the other way, which, I mean, when I was there today at 9 o'clock, it wasn't as bad of a deal, but late in the afternoon, it's gonna be. So can you just check the timing on that?
We'll check to make sure it's working properly.
Right. And I don't
Okay.
know what the correct timing is. And I also watched to see if the people in front were delayed because of sitting on their phone or whatever, and it wasn't that, so.
It's a tricky intersection because it is so close to one at Old Nashville and Sam Ridley, and this runs half time of that one. I think the one at Sam Ridley and Old Nashville is a 150-second cycle, and the one at Rock Springs is a 75-second cycle to get eight signal plans to work in 75 seconds. It does get
So
pretty
about how
tight
long does
sometime.
that mean you should have to cross?
It depends which direction it is you're coming, but I will check to make sure it's working
Okay.
properly.
Perfect, thank you. I was gonna call you about that today and forgot it, so I thought I might as well just bring it up while we're here.
I want you to know I was beginning to twitch because you had not called.
I'll make it a point to call every day with something on the list, how about that? Multiple times a day?
That's a given, Mayor.
He's got 2 helpers now.
Yeah. Spread the wealth.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nothing really new to share with you in the Codes Department, other than just the fact that we are crazy busy. Inspectors are going wide open all the time, and our clerical staff as well. We issued about 38 new single-family home permits in November. Coincidentally, we issued 39 certificate of occupancies. That's 39 new homeowners or resident families in Smyrna. And looking ahead just a bit, the Rock Springs apartments, which are oddly enough on Old Nashville Highway, are nearing completion, and I'd say within about a month they will be quickly filling up. And there, I can't remember. Do you remember how many units? Is it about 60?
I think it's like 92.
Okay, yeah. So that would be about another 92 families joining us. So if you didn't know it already, we're booming.
We were at the dedication of the third building at Motlow, and that was one of the things we were talking about was the growth, the phenomenal growth that we're seeing. And Dr. Tidings and I were talking that, you know, there are some growing pains that come along with that, such as housing and traffic and all that, but I guarantee you there are other communities that would do anything to have the issues that we're having to be able to see the growth that we're seeing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No complaint, but
Yes.
it's just it is a challenge.
Unless you're sitting at the light at Rock Springs.
And you got 2 seconds to get it.
Not just booster.
Can I get one of those little clickers? Oh, good, thanks.
It's the mayor clicker.
Well, thanks. So growing pains, but I think we're blessed to have them. Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, Council, just to update you on a couple of projects here. As you know, this time of year, everything's weather dependent, but we will be having a walkthrough tomorrow afternoon at Cedar Stone to go over the punch list with the general contractor. Turf installation continues out there, and I will mention that the playground is pretty much complete except for the sidewalk. We'll probably wait and open it up with the rest of the park, but so just for the citizens out there, just be a little bit of patience, have some patience, and while we put the sidewalk in around the mulch out there. Also, Nolan Drive, although the contractor's kind of stopped on the road part due to wet grounds, they did finish up the concrete and the islands and the truck apron around the roundabout up there, and they did seed and straw the open dirt areas today, actually. So if you see that, you'll know they've been there. Depot canopy is just underway. We've got the frame up and the concrete's been poured. You'll see some benches going in fairly soon, and Building Grounds will be installing the decking on the depot down there for the canopy. So you'll start seeing some things happening on nicer days. Volunteer parks underway. We're extending the fields, as you well know, and obviously we're going to be dealing with weather, but we've gotten a lot of work done on fields 2 and 3 over the last week. So we'll just keep pushing there to get that project done. And if you hadn't been by the library, I hope you do get a chance, but some of those Foster hollies have overgrown. We took some of those out and kind of just cutting those down and mulching. We're just scared of messing with the foundation there, but you'll kind of see the building again, which is a welcome sight. Forgot how nice that building was until you see that. And also, we're putting together our 2020 calendar, so we did receive several requests for Cedar Stone Park, so we'll be looking over that in the next week or two.
Great. Questions for Mike? Hello, Ms. Kathy.
Hello, Mayor and Council. The most exciting thing in our department is that our family is complete. So I'm going to ask Brett, if you can hear me in the booth, to come out. Brett Beauregard is our media program producer and would love for you all to welcome him. This is his second day. Brett comes to us from St. Thomas Health Ascension with almost 18 years experience. He will absolutely hit the ground running. Know him personally, have worked with him before, so know his character and know his work ethic, and I can say that we are so fortunate to have him here. He lives here. This is where his family is, and so he's very excited to be here, have his feet planted here, and not travel all over the country doing the video work anymore. So I wanted you all to join me in welcoming Brett.
Great. We are glad to have you, and we always are nice to the ones who's going to make us look good or bad on TV. So you're in a good spot.
He knows where his chair is.
That's right.
Unlike Charles.
Thank you. Great.
Other than that, we are tackling the website, actually updating and redesigning the website. That project was underway long before me, and so picking that torch up and running with that. So excited to share that with you as that unfolds over the next few months.
Great. Questions or comments for Kathy? Been seeing a lot of stuff coming out, newspaper, Facebook, and I just appreciate the job you're doing of getting the message out of what a great community we have here in the town of Smyrna. So, thanks. Kevin?
Mr. Mayor and Council, for once, I didn't have anything on your regular agenda, which is kind of rare, but we do have a Planning Commission coming up next month. We'd have some, maybe 1 or 2 items there. Talking about the growth that we're having, I do want to reiterate, we do have a census next year, and we do want to be sure we count everybody. The census count date is April 1st, and found out today, and this is short notice, but I just found this out today, the Census Bureau is actually having a job fair tomorrow at the American Job Center on Old Fort Parkway in Murfreesboro from 10 to 3. About $21 an hour salary if you want to have a temporary job. You need pick up some extra pay. So put that out there for the community.
Talk a little bit about why it's so important for our community for individuals to be counted.
Well, it means from a dollars and cents, it means about anywhere. I've seen figures of $1,100 per capita. I've seen figures $2,000 per capita. That it means coming to our community from either the federal or state government as far as highway money, education money, all those types of things. So it's very important from a quality of life for our citizens to have that money available for various services that we provide or the state government provides to them.
So when they're counted, that's less in property tax that they're going to end up having to pay just for being counted. So.
Yep.
Yep. Great.
We do want a couple of projects. I do want to update on the Lowry Street project. It's been a little while since I updated everyone on that. This is one that we were waiting, and basically we're at the final step to get notice to proceed to construction. And the TDOT decided to stop obligating money for local program projects to focus on their projects for a little while. When that happened, our NEPA expired. We have gotten everything done and resubmitted back to TDOT to reinstate that. That actually was sent to them yesterday to hopefully get the process finished up to reinstate the NEPA approval. Also, because of all the delays, TDOT does want a revised bid book, cost estimate, and DBE goals, because it's been a little over a year. And so we have tasked our consultant on this project, which is Reagan Smith, to go ahead and get that work done so we can get that back in the process. I certainly hope and pray that in the spring we'll have the notice to proceed to construction soon, relatively soon, and then maybe go to bid next spring. So that's certainly my goal and what I'm working towards. So, Brian also asked me to update everyone on the Florence Road sidewalk project. This is one that the mayor was authorized to sign the contract with TDOT last month. That was sent to TDOT. It has now been signed by the commissioner. So this is a project that we can begin work on. I do need to submit the project initiation paperwork to TDOT. It is my goal to have that done by the end of this year. So I have a few days left to working, and in addition to that, in the long-range transportation plan submittals, we're doing the NPO, get all that done by the end of the year. So once we get that project initiated, they will give us, hopefully soon, quickly, a notice to proceed to NEPA on that project as well. So then we'll have to, because this is a small project under TDOT guidelines, we can go directly to an engineering firm and hire them directly. We don't have to go through the whole entire RFQ process and all that. So we can, as long as we're on the TDOT's list, we can go through that process, which does cut a little bit of time out.
Great. Questions for Ken? Something I should have asked you probably outside the meeting, but just out of curiosity, we did not have a quorum at MPO this past month. Do y'all ever have that at TCC?
I don't think so. We typically, sometimes we do have to wait a little bit
Yeah.
for people there, sometimes because of traffic.
Right.
Kind of ironic.
Right.
But, are late getting there sometimes, so sometimes we do have to wait a little while, but we have always been able to have a meeting.
And do y'all have alternates on y'all's board? We do on ours.
We do.
Okay. And do we have alternates
Yeah.
set for, okay.
I think currently it's Mr. Rose. We may
Okay.
want to switch that to Mr. King now, I don't know, but.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious. I just wanted to make sure, because I know that's really where the meat of the work is done in y'all's, which then comes to our board for approval. So just making sure. Great. Thanks. Questions for Kevin? Rex?
Mayor and council, this is usually the time where I give you the local sales tax and state share tax. But those figures don't come out until around the 20th of each month, so we don't have them. I want to thank all the people that are sitting at these tables tonight. They've worked hard on getting their budget information in, and we'll be trying to sort through that here in the next couple of days.
Great.
Budget started.
Questions for Rex? Does it really ever end?
No.
Not between budget and audit, no.
Right. Questions for Rex? Thanks, Rex. Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we received the financial sufficiency review back from SRF for the wastewater treatment plant. We have been approved with no rate increase required. Again, we'll be looking for the $18 million loan. Should receive the loan documents soon, possibly within the next week. So what we'll need to do is pass the authorizing resolution, approve the loan docs, then it will go to the TLDA board for approval. Looking right now, the estimates are be a 30-year loan. If we get the 0.25% discount that SRF said that they would give to us, probably looking around 1.16% interest rate. So that should be coming here pretty soon within the next couple of weeks or so.
Great. Questions for Mike on this?
So it may be on the agenda for next month, is that what you're saying?
Yes, if
I'm
we
real
get it and
excited.
get everything rolling, yes, we want to get it on there. So once we get you guys to approve everything, then it can go to the TLDA to be approved and you get the loan.
Chief, sorry somebody took your seat tonight.
That's all right, Mayor. No problem. Mr. Spearman? I don't have a whole lot this evening. I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I also am excited we did finally get through all the testing and physicals, and we'll be bringing 6 new people aboard on January the 13th. So we look forward to them joining our department.
Great. Questions for Chief? Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Spearman?
I like this seat, that's all I have to say. Just busy doing the transition, moved my first box this week, so I'm doing well. And so just working with Chief Arnold, trying to get a transition over, so working away.
Great. Questions for Todd? Hal?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. We are in full-blown winter maintenance mode. We, especially since the last storm, we're cleaning up a lot of limbs and cutting down dead trees. We're also doing winter maintenance on our equipment and our golf carts. We've been started actually last week working in conjunction with Tom and the Stormwater Department. We have a drainage creek on the executive course that the design was a little causing us problems. Those of you that ran in the Captain Coos Memorial Run probably noticed that when you came across, we had cones up when it was washing that bridge area out. They're completely redoing it. It's going to be replaced with concrete, so it will be ready to go for the next run. And also booking outings. I've been getting calls all week, this week and last week, and booking outings for 2020.
Great. Questions for Hal? Thanks for getting that fixed. It was kind of an issue. Miss Diane?
So far this month, we've issued 19 new licenses for a short period, and glad to report that Jenny Davis's husband had his bypass surgery Monday, and today I talked to her and she said they were moving him to a room, so.
Great. It's
making
amazing
progress,
how quick
yes.
now, years ago, it just was not that fast. So.
Heading home by Christmas, I think.
They think, yes, hopefully by the weekend.
Great. Other questions for Miss Diane? Mr. Hercules?
Mr. Mayor and Council, just a couple things very quickly. Town Hall offices, I remind you again, will be closed on Tuesday and Wednesday, December 24th and 25th. And Wednesday, January the 1st for holidays. And we'll be appreciating the folks that are still working in our fire department, police department, wastewater treatment, and the waterworks. Those guys have to go 24/7. But the rest of us will hopefully be enjoying the holiday season. Also, I would like to remind you, please put on your calendars, and this is the point where if you want to call me tomorrow and ask me this, it's okay. But council will meet on January the 7th at 5 p.m. That will be our first council meeting of the year. Planning Commission meets on January 2nd at 5 p.m. Just a couple of things that I was fortunate to participate in this week. Todd Spearman and I actually got to go last night to the American Legion dinner. We had a great time. It was very, very nice. It was held at Laverne. We have a few stories to share. And
the pictures I showed, I saw Todd, but I didn't see you. Were you there?
That's because he was up receiving his gift because his ticket was pulled. Mine was not. I chose not to.
Oh, so you take the seat and you take the gift. Gotcha.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. Mayor, you've already mentioned this, but it was an honor to be at Motlow today for the groundbreaking of Building 3, 82,000 square foot building to serve our community. And several of you from the council and then several of us from the town staff were able to be there. It was very nice. Also would like to share accolades to Raquel for the CASA party that we were able to attend last week at your office. It's a great time. I know several of us were able to get by. I hope you guys raised a lot of money and a lot of toys for the children. That's kind of the reason, that we come together in those kind of atmospheres. But you guys just outdid yourself with food. So it was very nice, and we very much appreciate that. I do want to take just a moment of personal privilege. I don't do this very often, but at the Hercules House tonight is a very special day. I am very blessed, as you guys know, to have a partner that became a team member for us, for Team Smyrna, when you asked me to take this job, and that's my beautiful wife, Pat. And today is her birthday, and I want to wish her a very happy birthday and let her know that every day is a blessing that she brings in my life.
Great.
I will leave it with that.
Happy birthday to Pat.
Brian, I sent her a message today that you should really spoil her a lot. And so she's prepared to ask you to spoil her.
I will try to live up to your expectations of spoiling one, and it'll be a blessing to do so.
Jeff?
We didn't talk about it last time, so for the public, we'd let them know that Nathan Nichols, who used to be a staff attorney, left to pursue a position with the District Attorney's Conference in Nashville, and that means that there's a staff attorney position open. So if you know any attorneys that would like to come work with a great town attorney, send them this way.
Oh, you're leaving too?
No.
Wow.
Hey, I'm blessed. And also, it's a great thing, but I'm a little sad that my youngest turns 21 tomorrow. So it's kind of depressing, but I'm glad for her. But say a shout out to Abby for her birthday.
Questions for Jeff? Thanks, Jeff. Raquel?
Okay, the CASA party, thank you for those accolades, Brian. And I also wanted to thank everyone who did participate and donated to our toy drive. I also wanted to send out a special thank you to Stewart's Creek TV. Their teacher, Mr. Bessinger, contacted me, and they have completed a toy drive at their school for CASA. So I wanted to thank them publicly for taking time to do that for our cause. And we actually were able to raise more than $16,000. So
That's great.
and then welcome Brett to the team, and prayers out to Jenny Davis's family, her husband and her family, during his recuperation. And lastly, I would like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of our citizens, to our employees and staff. Please be safe and have a blessed holiday.
Thanks. HG?
Happy birthday to Miss Pat, pass that along.
We will.
Does she watch?
She will see this.
Happy birthday, Miss Pat. And
Happy
then,
birthday, Miss Pat.
Congratulations to Motlow. I mean, it's just a beautiful building out there, and you know, they kind of sit off of the parkway out there, and we don't always think about them, but I mean, it's a beautiful place out there, and they're really making an impact on our community. I also need to pass along condolences to the family of Weed Farmer. He passed away this week. His father was our fire chief for a while, and he was a fine man, well thought of, had a lot of friends, and he will be missed within our community. I would be remiss if I did not speak of shopping local. Y'all realize that when you buy something online and it comes in the mail and somebody tries to steal it off your porch, the town gets nothing off of that except for some police work and then trying to catch the people that took it off of your porch. But if you shop locally, in the local businesses here, 68% of what you spend stays here in the community, whether it be through the salaries of the people who work there, or it be the actual manufacture of whatever you're purchasing in this area. But it is a big deal for Smyrna, twofold in our taxes and then re-plowing that money back into our community. Also, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Ho, ho, ho.
Thanks.
Some time for your dance.
Tim?
No, Steve's doing the interpretive dance tonight, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope y'all don't wait long for that.
Happy birthday, Pat. And if you're out there, we appreciate everything you do in the town of Smyrna. Need to wish my daughter a happy birthday. Her birthday is this Sunday, and we're going to celebrate with her. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to our employees and to our town. This is truly a gift and something to be thankful for, and feel blessed every year to be part of it, and the capacity that I am and contribute. And it's a special time when you look back and you think about things like that.
Thanks. Interpretive dancer?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely not me.
Holly Jolly Christmas one.
Happy birthday, Pat. Thank you for sending Brian out the door every day. I don't know if we're doing her a favor, she's doing us a favor, but either way. Thank you, Jeff, for all your hard work on the conversation tonight. I know he put a lot of time into it. My son will be coming in Monday, so if you see him around town, Kevin will be here. Chief, he'll be driving my red Honda, so tell police to watch out for him. Yeah, you might just want to camp outside my neighborhood and wait on him, because that's... Other than that, I don't have anything. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll see you around town.
So I've already sent Pat my well wishes, but publicly I'd like to wish her well again. Happy birthday to her. As she mentioned, the family of William Farmer. We want to keep them in our prayers. It's never easier to lose somebody, especially this time of year. You know, it's like every year it reminds you of somebody you lost when Christmas rolls around. So it's hard for the families like that. There are a lot of other people out there like that. I think of, you know, some people that I remember last year about this time we lost, Bob Goins and some of those people, and their family are reminded every Christmas now that they've lost a very special loved one. Our community has too. So to the Farmer family, we want to wish them our condolences and let them know we'll be thinking and praying about them. I do want to say thank you to the court clerk and the judge both for being here this evening so we could have this dialogue, and Brittany and Lynn both, and we know them really as those people, not court clerk and judge, but thank them for at least coming in and sharing their thoughts and their concerns with us, and the fact that we can all sit here and listen and have that dialogue. Jeff, to you and your team, and Brian for the audit, thank you. I know there is a lot of time spent on these types of things, and although I was teasing you a while ago when I asked you if you were leaving, I wouldn't trade you for anything. I appreciate you being here, and just tell you how much I appreciate your hard work and your effort. So, Merry Christmas to each and every one of these people sitting in front of us here with their families, and you guys are the nuts and the bolts that make this thing go, all of you. And Brian always says, tell him, Brian, you know, I don't get a vote. I just get to clean up the mess, kind of deal. And so I look at all of you and your families that way, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I know most of your families, and if I don't, I want to wish them all well and thank them for sharing you guys with us and making the town go. I didn't get to talk to Jill last week because she got out of here, but I do want to say again how much I appreciate her and you and everything you guys did in the parade. That was a big event. So all that said, I think that's it. Just Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year. Be safe.
Great. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We have the winter break camp December 30th, 31st, January 2nd, 3rd, and 6th. If your children need some hands-on fun over winter break, you can sign them up for a week of fun, games, crafts, climbing, and everything the SOAC has to offer before school starts back. There is daily registration available. The location will be at our SOAC Center on Sam Ridley Parkway. Registration is required through Community Pass, or you can contact Shelley Denton at the town of Smyrna for more information. Martin Luther King Jr. Day at the SOAC will be Monday, January 20th. The SOAC will be open from 10 to 4 with climbing, hands-on programs, and activities for your day out of school. Frozen Winter Celebration will be Friday, January the 24th. Enjoy the frozen winter season with the epic celebration at the SOAC. Make snow with your favorite characters, sing, dance, make a take-home craft, and frozen experiments. Costumes are encouraged. Also get a chance to meet and greet with the Chick-fil-A cow and eat a yummy chicken supper. Access to the SOAC exhibit hall and adventure zones included, and registration is required for this one as well. Also want to remind you that the 2020 Top Gun Run will be taking place Friday, May 29th at 8 p.m. and registration is now open at townofsmyrna.org/Top Gun Night Run. So we encourage you to get signed up for the Top Gun Night Run. Pat, happy birthday. I hope you've had a wonderful day today. And just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Want to congratulate Parker, who graduated on Saturday from MTSU. Whoop, whoop. We are so excited in the Reed Bell household. And anything else? Nothing else, then we are adjourned.